Hello, happy Sunday. Welcome back to Reads of an Apple. It is currently July 31st and tomorrow, August 1st, starts the Romance Takeover Readathon. This edition is going to be Light versus Dark, and I am Team Light. If you have not seen my TBR video, definitely check it out up above. I'll pop it up in the cards. But otherwise, I'm just going to do a quick rundown here. I will have all the hosts tagged down below, but it will be Jenn from the Book Refuge, Crystal's Bookish Life, Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings, Jessen from Jessen Reads Romance, Caitlin from the Love Librarian, and I'm missing somebody. Gotta look at my book. I'm missing someone and now I feel horrible. Oh, Christi from Christi Reads a Lot. So here is my bingo board. I'll just kind of touch base on it really quick, even though I go over most of it in my TBR video. But so I have Paranormal, Virgin Hero, Plus Sized, Friends to Lovers, Second Chance, Foodie, Workplace, Fantasy, Billionaire, Forced Proximity, Rom-Com, New Adult, Historical, Age Gap, Celebrity, and Sports. I picked the books that I need to read this month that weren't for book clubs and readathons to finish out some of the summer reading challenges I'm doing, and I decided to make my bingo board based off of prompts that the books I need to read fill. So I did it a little bit backwards, but if I need to read these books anyway, instead of making a bingo board and then seeing where they fit, I decided to make the bingo board off of what I'm going to read. That way I won't feel as weird about not getting as much read as I want to. This is probably the strictest TBR I've given myself ever, so we will see how it goes. I have a lot of options. There are 5 books that are the top of my list to get through, 2 full-length novels and 3 novellas, and then I have 5 other options that I would like to pick up, but we will see what happens. I will probably end up picking them up later this month anyway, because like I mentioned, they're also for my reading challenges. So we will see what happens. I'm also a mood reader, so I could just go completely off book, but I wanted to at least film my opening clip. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be reading tonight, but I definitely want to start my first book, and I will be picking up Walking in Fire. This is by, let me look at her cover, Cathryn Cade, and this is the first book in her Hawaiian Heroes series, and this, I know for sure going in, will cover Foodie, Paranormal, and Age Gap. I don't know too much for this. I was looking for a book set in Hawaii or dealt with Hawaii, and this showed up in a Listopia list, and from what I understood, she is a food blogger and she's either on vacation or she's there for a project or something in Hawaii, and our hero is the guardian of Pele, and so he's our paranormal creature, spiritual guardian dude. So I'm very excited. New author, new series. I'm excited to kind of kick off August with paranormal-y vibes, because it's been a while since I read a paranormal book, and that used to be one of my favorite subtropes. I still love paranormal. It's still very close to my heart. I just don't read it as often. I tend to go more towards the fantasy route than paranormal, but I'm very excited to see what this has. So I will be picking this up later tonight and starting the readathon tonight, but I thought I'd do my opening clip. I am not picking it up right this second though. I need to fold my laundry and watch Big Brother, because Big Brother is on tonight and I am a Big Brother fan, and I listen to daily podcast updates of the live feeds, and my mom loved Big Brother, and I would watch it with her, but I wouldn't watch like the live feeds or anything when they were on Showtime. And then my boss at work got me into it a few seasons ago again, and now I'm all in. If I like a show, I find a podcast. And with shows like Big Brothers, where there are live feeds and multiple shows a week and all that, it definitely is very consuming, but it's my replacement for hockey. Let's be honest. Hockey plays, I mean, if they're like my boys who won the Stanley Cup this year, hockey was from September is when they started preseason all the way to June. So, you know, I need something to occupy my little bit of TV time, and Big Brother fits almost perfectly in that in between the end of the hockey season and the beginning of the hockey season. So it is what it is. But I will be starting Walking on Fire tonight, and I'm very excited to see how it goes. So I will update you once I have read some of it and let you know how it's going. Hello, happy Monday. It was not a happy Monday, at least at work. But tonight I was able to participate in the reading sprint that was hosted on Rachel's channel. And it was like 3.5 hours long, and it was super fun. I always love participating in sprints, but being on mountain time, I feel like the timing doesn't usually fit from when I'm getting off work. They're either already done, or they're taking place when I'm getting off work, or they're before I get off work. So I just like being able to participate in the live shows, and it was nice that I was able to do this one. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, and I was able to read quite a bit of Walking in Fire. I am now currently 60% through, and I'm not sure, like, I'm still kind of up in the air on how this is gonna go. Like, I'm enjoying it, and I'm definitely enjoying the difference in what's like mythology. There is an author's note in the beginning that she took some liberties with the mythos of Pele, but that it's like that she was inspired about the real myth. And I don't know too much about Hawaiian mythology. I learned a lot in middle school, but I've forgotten a lot of that by now. But it's interesting. So, brief rundown. Our heroine, Melia? I'm gonna go with Melia. No, I'm gonna go with Melia. She is a chef and starting her own, like, food blogging. And she was originally planned to go on this vacation with her boyfriend. It sounded kind of serious. She walks in, she comes home over early. I don't know if they were living together, but basically he was sleeping with someone that he was working with, and when they were working on a project. And, you know, and then tells her, oh, it's because you weren't adventurous enough, and turned around on her. But so her friends convince her to go on this Hawaii vacation by herself and just relax, enjoy, try to do what she can. And she is enjoying herself. And she gets invited on like a little snorkeling excursion by somebody who's staying in the same hotel or resort that she is. And so she joins them, and it's him and 2 other guys, and then 2 like beach bunny type girls. And then there's the Frank, who's like the guy who's driving the boat. And then there's Leilana, who is like the housekeeper chef. They're the Frank and Leilana. They basically like are the housekeepers for this house. They keep it in order. They keep it stocked with food. They help assist any tourists that stay in this place, kind of a thing. And then there is, his real name's David, but they call him the second half of his last name. Let me see if I can find it. Melu. And he is intrigued by Melia, but the other 2 women are all over him. And it seems like they're just kind of out there at the party. But Malia just very much wants to enjoy, you know, she's enjoying the snorkeling. She wants to go hiking. She wants to just relax and enjoy this kind of like different kind of food. And she talks to Leilana about cooking in the Hawaiian way and stuff. And so she's just one of those very, like, she's going to travel and experience this different place and this different culture. And she just wants to, you can just tell she's just trying to soak up everything in. And she's not just off partying on vacation like these people that she ended up going with. But the first night they're there or the second night they're there, I don't know. It's all, I feel like we've only gone through like 2 or 3 days so far. And one of the girls follows the guy that invited her there off into the woods, and then Melu follows, and then the girl gets badly beaten, and Melu gets badly beaten, and then pushed off on like a ravine kind of a thing. And come to find out, the like guy who kind of put together all this is like doing drug running of some like hallucinogenic drug. They call it Kona diamonds. And so the girl, we're guessing, is like, I don't know. So it was like hints of paranormally, but we hadn't gotten to the paranormal yet. And then it went to like romantic suspense. And now the paranormal stuff is starting to happen because they rescue the girl. And then that guy gets crazy, starts to kind of, he takes a stance and he starts talking to Malia weirdly, and then Melu comes in and ties him up, and they take him. So they take the girl to the hospital, and they take the guy to the cops because the cops couldn't get a ambulance, ship, or boat or whatever to them. So Malia and Melu are left on this island to their lonesome, and they're in this house, and this is when, and he's pretty badly beaten up, and she wakes up in the middle of the night, and he's glowing, and he's magically healed, and that is when we learn that his ancestor was granted this gift from Pele, and she pretty much wanted him to be her lover and her companion, and he's like, I have a wife and an unborn baby. And so she went to attack him, and he stayed firm in her attacks. And then, so instead she was like, fine, I'll let you leave, but you and all your ancestors will have these guardian powers. And there's other benefits to it as well. They're not just servants to Pele for the rest of their lives, but they protect Pele and the mountain. And I thought it was super cool. It did get steamy around 50%, and I don't know, it's going very, very quick, and I know that happens in paranormals, but it doesn't feel like a paranormal, and maybe, I don't know, I wish it was a little more on the paranormal vibe, so we'll see how it goes, but it's giving me more like romantic suspense without like it actually being suspenseful, if that makes sense. I'm enjoying it for sure. It's definitely interesting. It does seem, I don't know anything about this author outside of what I read in the author's note. Apparently she loved going to Hawaii, and it's one of her favorite places. But it feels like an early book in her writing career. It's just sometimes things are slightly disjointed or chunky, and like, we're just gonna mash them together and eventually they'll fit together kind of a thing. And while objectively the words that she's writing with are fine, there isn't that extra like flow that just like, I don't know, like I'm not struggling reading it, but it's just, I don't know, it's missing something. So it's not just like completely enrapturing me. It is very easy for me to be like, oh, I'll bookmark it and I'll come back later. Cause usually I'm like, oh, I gotta get to the end of the chapter or get to like, if there's an ellipses thing where we're switching POVs. And on this one, I'm finding myself, I'm just like, once I finish this paragraph, I'm good. Or once I finish this page, I'm good. I can move on. So we will see. But right now, it's probably sitting at a 3.54. But I don't want to be too firm on that because I am enjoying myself. I am intrigued. And I just really want to see how it all kind of goes out. And I was expecting more of like a paranormal danger for there to be, and not just people trying to drug run on this island. You know? I was expecting more paranormal vibes. But it's definitely interesting. So I will give it that. And that is all I have really to say. I will check back in probably once I finish the book, unless something super crazy happens. But I'm going to get a compress for my eye and do my nighttime compress, and then try to get some sleep and hopefully get through as much of Walking in Fire as I can. But I just figured while I was filming my weekly vlog clip, I might as well update you. Plus I was over halfway through, so we'll see how the rest of it goes. I'll see you all soon. Hello, happy Tuesday, happy day 2 of the readathon. I have some updates. So, last night I did finish Walking in Fire. I'm gonna give this 3 stars. I was kind of disappointed with how it ended up. It definitely... The only paranormal thing was Pele and Malu, and he just had these powers, and it does not work for age gap because apparently he's just normal aged, but they like gain the powers through their generational lines, so he's not like some long living creature or being, I guess. But it turned into a romantic suspense, and it was all about these drugs, and suddenly the bad guy was the guy that beat him and that girl up in the woods, but his boss was some dude that's like trying to move in on Hawaii as a new like drug stranglehold. And it like, it just, this is a paranormal, not a romantic suspense. And he like didn't even really use any powers outside of him just magically healing, but he didn't really trigger that. It just happens because he was so freaking beat up. And I was just like, really? This is all you're gonna give me? And then we had the huge whole big climax scene, and I kept looking at the bottom, and I'm like, I've still got like 25-ish% of this book left. And I was like, is there the first chapter of the next book? Because I know like some books only go to 90, and I was like, maybe there's that. But it kept going, and it kept going, and it kept going. And I was just like, now don't get me wrong, I like seeing the couple happy and together. But I was like, oh my gosh, these people have been with each other. They've only known each other exist for like 2.5 days, if that. And she's apparently already pregnant, and Pele told him, and then Pele had them both basically promised to love each other, and Pele was like threatening them both just to kind of see where their feelings were. I don't know. I was just like, oh my gosh. I mean, it would have been better if she pushed the paranormal aspect more and was like, this dude is a guardian and the magic helps him know like this is his fated mate type of thing. But nope, they just knew, and she knew too, but she wasn't accepting it. And I was just like, why are these choices being made? Why is this suddenly a romantic suspense? I was looking for a paranormal thing. The bad guy was not paranormal at all, and I was just like, seriously? And then, I mean, it's cool. He used Pele's powers to start making rocks fall down the volcano to smash all these guys. And then Pele is who opened the mountain and took all the bad guys into the lava and burned them. So he didn't even kill them. And he got shot and his friend got, and I was just like, I don't understand this. Why? And then I was just like, I don't know. And then there was an epilogue too. And then it got to the end, and the book ended at like 98%. So there wasn't even really, like, there was a little bit of a preview for the next book. I didn't even read it. I was just like, I don't think I'll be picking up any of the other books in this series. I try not to one and done authors, but this was published early 2010s, and this is like the updated one, so it's not, I don't know, and I don't even know what exactly she updated. She did post in the author's note, I saw something about the coral having been graffitied, and then a note that that's why she updated it, so I don't know, not a good start to the readathon, but I got it done. It covered a bunch of prompts and all of my reading things. And so it did not cover HCAP, but it did cover paranormal, kind of. I'm just salty about it. And foodie, even though we didn't do much with her being a foodie. So she didn't even really cook. And he made her really bad eggs. So I'm just like, whatever. But that's her profession. So I'm counting it. It's over. I decided, since I had a bunch of stuff to do tonight, and then tomorrow night is Wednesday night. I will be able to do the reading sprints tomorrow night. It's 6 o'clock my time. But tomorrow is Wednesday. So tomorrow is Married at First Sight. Tomorrow is Big Brother. Tomorrow is the reading sprints. And if it's anything like the one that was last night, and it was like 3.5 hours long, which, don't get me wrong, I loved it. But I might have to save Married at First Sight for later this weekend. And then just watch Big Brother tomorrow. But we will see. But anyway, it's already after 8 o'clock right now. And I wanted to pick up something shorter. So I will be picking up Under One Roof. This is the first novella in Ali Hazelwood's Steminist novellas. From what I understand, this will at least cover rom-com and forced proximity. It might also cover friends to lovers. A couple of the tags that I saw people put for trope-wise in their reviews. I didn't read the reviews. I just looked because a couple of the people I follow list like tropes. And they put, one of them put that it was enemies to friends to lovers. So, because there's half friends to lovers, so if they become friends and then they become lovers, this might work for friends to lovers. We will see. I will be reading that very soon. But, yeah. Lots of stuff to update. Well, one book down. Hopefully we can only go up from here. So, I will do some reading, and I will update you once I have something more to say about Under One Roof. Until then. Hello, happy Wednesday. I am just cleaning some things up here, but I figured I was getting ready to, I was starting to get things kind of cleaned up to go to bed, and I realized I haven't updated anything. So while I clean up here, I figured I would update. I did do the reading sprints tonight. It was on Jessen's channel, which was super fun. Tomorrow the one is at noon my time, and I'll be at work, so if I can, I might pop it on and maybe do like productivity at work, but we'll see. Usually I get sucked into listening to podcasts, although I'm mostly caught up on a lot of my podcasts right now. But anyway, that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about the books I'm reading for the readathon. So yesterday I started and finished Under One Roof by Ali Hazelwood. This is the first book in her Steminist novella collection, and I'm gonna give this 4 stars. It was super cute. It was very trope-based, fairly quick, although there were a couple time jumps in it. I don't even remember their names. But so she inherits she's kind of estranged from her family, and her found family was the professor / mentor that she did her doctorate with, and when she passes away, she leaves her half of a family house that's split with her brother to the heroine. And so when she moves to DC, she also gets a job. She's an environmental engineer, so she works for the EPA, I think. And she ends up, the other person who owns the other half, who was our mentor's brother's youngest son, has basically bought out his family for the other half of the house. And he is actually a lawyer for like a big conglomerate company that's known for like oil spills and doing things against the environment, kind of a thing. And so it's kind of blurbed as enemies to lovers, but it didn't feel like enemies so much as I don't know, childish behavior. The things that she did, because when she shows up, he tries to buy her out right away for like double what the whole house is worth. But she, has to stick to her guns. And I'm just like, take the money and run, girl. So, but I understood why she wanted to stay. She wanted to feel close to her mentor. And, she's just like, just until I get on my feet, until I can, maybe move up and make some more money. And he's like, I'm offering to give you a bunch of money. And then it's like kind of talked about how his lawyer emails her every other day with like a higher offer or something like that. But he was super cute. He was very awkward. And she thought he was very kind of like a jock bro lawyer type dude. So she definitely was stereotyping him, but he is just very awkward. And I almost feel like he is demi-ish. It's not talked about like that, and it's obviously, and it's short enough that nothing really gets delved into too much, and don't think we even get his POV as often as we get hers. So I don't know if he's technically on any spectrum or whatever, but he talks about how he doesn't like sex at all, but he's very interested in it with her, so it gave me demi feelings. But it was cute. I didn't like her childish behavior. Some of the things that she did to him, some of them were on accident, just normal roommate stuff. You don't realize you're being loud and that kind of a thing. But some of it was just so, like, he gets a package and she doesn't sign for the package. And she lets the dude take it back, and the UPS driver is like, this is like special, like, next day air. They paid a lot of money to get this stuff right away. And she's just like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna sign it. I'm just like, oh my God, lady. I don't care what kind of roommate situation it is. And she sees that it's care of him to his work, or it's from his work or something. It's something to do with his work. So I don't care if you don't like the company that he works for. It's obviously like important paperwork, and she does not sign for it, and that kind of really causes them to butt heads, and I did not like that. So like I said, she was kind of childish, but overall it was very quick, trope filled, cute book. So 4 stars. And then, like I said, I took part in the sprints today. And so instead of going to the next novella, I decided to pick up Never Sweeter by Charlotte Steen. This is the second book in her Darkest Obsession series. I have not read the first book, but Jenn read this book. I feel like it's been a while since she's read it. And I am now 60% of the way through. So I am flying through it. It is, it's going to cover 4 prompts. So that is why I picked it up, because we are getting coverage on my board, and then I can kind of have fun later on once I feel happy with where my board is at. But so we have Tate and Juliet, and Tate was a bully to her in high school. I knew it was a former bully romance. However, in the prologue, the culminating factor is he was not driving a truck, but she was up somewhere where she knows that these 3 boys like to hang out that torment her, and Tate is a part of that group. And her car breaks down, so she's walking this house. She's walking home because she tried to text a couple of people and wasn't able, they didn't respond right away. So she's trying to walk home, and it's in a mountainous, nature-y area, it sounds like. And they start taunting her because they're leaving from whatever their hangout area is. And she knew they were up here because she passed them when she was driving earlier. And this is all prologue. They are taunting her and yelling slurs and stuff out the side. She is plus size, and she finally kind of has enough, and she stands up to him. And then she sees Tate egging on the driver, and then they hit her with the truck. Tate's not driving. And she goes over the bluff cliff area, and apparently she has a fracture. It sounds like a full skull fracture, or maybe a neck fracture, because she has a scar back here, and they had to shave some of her hair, and she had to go through rehab for a while. And this is 2 years later. And so she is a freshman in college, but obviously when this happens, she is a senior in high school. But because of her rehab and healing from her injury, she is starting later than normal. And she is in her film critiquing class. I don't know, it's a film class. And Tate shows up, and she had thought he went to a school on the different end of the country, and she kind of freaks out. She definitely has not moved on, and she still has a lot of the, I guess, triggers of just making people and meeting people. And I get that she went through horrific bullying, and then this instance, which is more than bullying. And it's, I don't know, it was interesting to read. It's definitely, it was interesting because she was trying to stop herself from having these reactions of because she sees him in the class, and she freaks out all class because all she can think about is all the little things. She second guesses going to answer. She second guesses walking by him, and all the things where they would find a way to taunt her about something in high school. And she is trying to get around him and get back to her dorm after class, and she runs into him, and he goes to grab her, and she acts like he's killing her, and when he's just trying to keep her from falling over, so then he lets go because she's freaking out. And then she does knock herself unconscious because she falls backwards on the floor. And then I don't know, it's their romance. They haven't really started dating or anything. We are 60% of the way through. He has apologized. He has talked about, how he would get home, and he's just it felt like there was somebody else driving my body. Not that I'm excusing what I said, but I would go home and I would be like, why am I saying these things? Why am I doing these things? I'm not trying to say these things. They just come out, and, you know, teenage boy hormones, I guess. I don't know. But outside of I don't know. I'm enjoying this, and I'm liking how she, like, every once in a while he'll do something and she'll have that gut reaction of like, oh, he's gonna make fun of me, or oh, it's a trick. And she goes to find him because then they get paired up by their teacher to do a project together, and it's sex in cinema. And so they watch like Dirty Dancing and a couple of things, and they're having interesting conversations about sex. And he actually brings up about the fact that in movies you don't see a woman, like a man go down on a woman very often, but you see men get BJs all the time. And so I don't know. It was kind of interesting, the conversations that they're having. And I'm enjoying it. I mean, I'm flying through it quickly. I am and so they are getting kind of steamy with each other. There was this really cute scene where she goes to find him to watch another movie. They have a study date, and he is a wrestler, and she goes to find him at the athletic center or whatever. They're like, oh, he's done. He's swimming to cool off. And so she finds him, and she's like, you better not pull me in. And then he does. And then she freaks out. And then he's just like, I'm so sorry. And then they play like Marco Polo. And then it turns out they spent like hours hanging out in this swimming pool just by themselves. And when they play Marco Polo, the like custodians didn't realize they were there and shut off all the lights to the pool, which sounds kind of dangerous to me. But I was like, I don't know, it was cute. And so they're slowly she's more comfortable with him touching her, even in just little ways. But that scene when she completely freaks out, and then he like helps bring her out of the water. Plus she's wearing her normal clothes, so like her jeans are getting weighted down. She's wearing a sweater and stuff. And he's just like rubbing her back. And I think it was he was holding her back in the back of her head or something, and he's just like soothing her. And she tries very much not to talk about what happened because she doesn't want to bring back those feelings, which makes me think that she's repressing some things instead of actually working through some things. But when things do come up, the way that he is just so apologetic and just open with her, and he says in multiple times in multiple different ways how, like, one of his analogies is he's like, I am so far in the red, I have to do so many multiple good deeds for you to even get close to being in the black, kind of a thing. So he knows, and he is taking accountability for what he said. And I don't know, she recognizes that he has like an almond-ish scent, cologne, spray, whatever it is, which is what the perfume that she used to have. So I feel like there's definite, like, I feel like it's gonna be that he liked you all along, and in his stupid teenage boy way, this is how he treated you. But I don't know, it's just, I'm enjoying it, but we'll see how it goes. They've been getting a little bit hot and heavy. He is like, we should masturbate in front of each other during one of this movie, and they're talking about sex and both getting turned on, and she doesn't feel comfortable doing that, and then she watches him do it, and then he's just like, well, I can take care of you. And she talks about how she's never gone down on, and so they've done that in another study date, or that was in the library. That was pretty steamy. And there's a couple different times. So they've had a couple so now I just finished the third study date where they have gotten hot and heavy for sure. They have not gone all the way. From what I could tell, this is supposed to cover the virgin hero trope. So I think he is a virgin. He should be a virgin. And So we'll see. She is also very kind of judgmental about him because he is a wrestler and he has this athletic body, and she's just like, oh, girls are all over you and blah blah blah, and he's just like, what do you mean? I'm not dating anybody. I'm not, like, you don't see me hanging out with girls all the time, and yeah, they are talking to you and they're talking to everybody else if I'm with somebody. He goes, but I'm not encouraging that, and they just see me as a piece of meat, kind of. And so I don't, it's interesting. And I think I'm kind of why I'm struggling is I'm having a harder time with Juliet than Tate, because I feel like Tate is very apologetic. He is trying to do things. She asks him for space, and he goes so far as to not go to class for 3 days and just borrow notes from other people because he's trying to give her space. And then finally she's just like, dude, go to class, just leave me alone. And so she's a little, and I get she's in a situation, but I do wish that she would have, because she was going through all this stuff. She was separated from everybody. She went through rehab. She wasn't with her peers anymore. I do wish that while she was going through rehab and recovering from her injury, that she would have been able to repair more of her self-esteem, just because she was away from it. And I know there were other things going on and she's reverting with him being around, but it felt, I don't know. And maybe this is because I have never been bullied like that. And not that I've really been, I haven't been bullied like that. Like, I wasn't bullied by school people at all. So maybe that's why is I'm not connecting as much with her, because I feel, I don't know, but she's still young. You know, they're like early 20s, late teens, I'm guessing-ish. There's no confirmation, but I am enjoying it. But I'm definitely enjoying Tate's character more than Juliet's character, which is interesting. But we will see how it finishes. I don't know. I feel kind of weird because I'm like, I'm enjoying it, but I don't know. It's just because I feel weird saying I'm not really enjoying her as much, but the story is mostly told from her perspective, and I don't want to downplay what she went through. And I know this is fictional, so if you've gone through similar situations, I'm obviously not downplaying what you went through or any commentary on your mental whatever, but I just know from other traumatic situations I've been through, to if you're gonna bury it down and not deal with it, I feel like, in my experience, you don't get quite as triggered as often, or if you are taking the stance of burying it down and not facing it, you wouldn't be as outwardly triggered, if that makes sense. So instead of freaking out in the moment with whoever is triggering you, with whoever or whatever is triggering you, it would show up later when you're alone in a situation where you will let that affect you. I don't know. It's interesting. But we will see how it goes. I do kind of wish that they were more like dating or getting more serious, emotional wise, because we're 60% of the way in. But I'm guessing HEA isn't going to be like engagement marriage in this book because of kind of the pace that we're going at, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, I will stop blabbering at you because this has been a lot longer update than I expected, and it is way past my bedtime and I need to go to bed. So I will see you tomorrow, because at the very least I will be finishing this book. If not tonight, then tomorrow. So I will let you know once I have finished Never Sweeter. Good morning. It is Thursday morning and I am headed to work. And I'm running a little bit late, but I still have time. I like to leave early. I like to be places early. But I figured I would film an update on the way to work this morning because I finished Never Sweeter last night. I'm still... I was thinking 4.5 stars originally, but I'm debating on giving it 4 stars instead because the third act conflict, so to speak, the big argument they had was kind of, I don't know, it was over very quickly and it was very gut reaction from her. Anyway, so shortly after I updated you last night at 60%, they were like, I don't know, they were hanging out together again, things got steamy, and then, so her name's Juliet, but she goes by Letty. I totally spaced that when I updated you last night. But, so, Letty, she, I don't know, her friend was like knocking on the door. I'm trying to think. No, that was after they had like full sex for the first time. Oh, there was an issue where he kind of like set up in this like old barn kind of a thing. He set up this like cute little picnic thing up in the hayloft, and like with fairy lights and a space heater, and it was really sweet. And then they were getting frisky, and one of his wrestling buddies like snuck up and took a picture of her. And then of course, you know, she freaks out. And I mean, there was definitely some insecurities with her that were kind of brought up, but then she was kind of hoping he didn't notice, but then we find out later that he noticed, and that he just, like, he reassured her, and I thought that was really sweet. But, and then they have sex for the first time, and he was a virgin, and it basically came down because he was ginormous. So when he would, like, he's done lots of different things. Apparently he's been a part of threesomes, but he hasn't had full penetrative, I guess would be the way to say it, because girls would get scared, or they would back off just after the tip, because I guess he's huge. So the first time he's just like, are you sure? We're gonna have to really work for me to even feel comfortable having sex with you, because I like you a lot and I don't want to hurt you, kind of a thing. So, oh my goodness, there are people picketing our Planned Parenthood today. But the morning after, Letty's friend Lydia, who lives in the same dorm room as her, I think she lives down the hall, is knocking on the door, and then she basically is like, hi, I'd go in the bathroom while I talk to her and get rid of her. And then this is where we really start to see Letty notice his insecurities and about how he feels like he is not good enough for her. And I thought it was interesting because, I don't know, and then they're together, and I thought it was kind of cute when he would like point out like, hey, we're dating, this is what couples do, and she's just like, what? And he's just like, I don't know, there is one point where he says something like, I'll teach you how to be in a relationship if you teach me about sex. And I don't think she quite picked up on that. And she freaked out a little bit more than I would have liked about him being a virgin. But that's because she had this stereotype of him still after getting to know him for so long. And him really opening up to her about, know, what he's actually feeling and who he is behind the facade that he puts on as like a wrestling dude. And I don't know, it broke my heart for him in a couple of places. And then, I don't know, so the third act breakup is she finds an email address on his computer because she's going through his emails, and which, you know, man, you know, but I mean, that just shows that she doesn't have trust in him in the first place. But anyway, so she's going through these emails and she finds a different email that he sent to, and it's got pictures of them, and most of them are like cutesy pictures or like where she looks good, but they're not like scandalous pictures. But there is a sex video, and she's just like, I didn't even realize he filmed us one time. And holy moly, why is traffic so backed up? Is there another train? I hope there's not another train. I got stuck for almost an hour and a half by a train last week because the train went by and then the little thingies never went away. Oh, it was so frustrating. Alright, I am back. Traffic is really crazy right now. I don't know what's going on, why it's so backed up. But, so she goes through his emails and she sees that he's sending emails of these pictures and things, and she assumes the worst. And when one of his friend that took the picture kind of approaches her and is just like, what's going on? He's been super depressed. He's not showing up to practices and that kind of a thing. And she comes to realize basically, and he's just like, why don't you know his password? He uses the same stupid password for everything. Why don't you try logging into this mysterious email? Because I'm pretty sure it's his. And it like played on the dumb jock stereotype where he didn't know how to back up his pictures, and so he wanted to save all these pictures of her, and so he created a different email and then he emailed them to that email. And then so when she logs in to be like, okay, it is his because it's the same password kind of a thing, then she logs into his other one. And then she sees all of these emails that he tried to send her way back when, after the accident. And she basically, her friend basically reads them to her because she doesn't want to look at them. And she's just like, no, you need to hear these because these are letters that he didn't have a way to send to you, and in it is his apologies from when this accident happened. And basically we come to find out that after the accident happened, when she saw him whispering to the dude that was driving the truck, he was actually trying to get the dude to not hit her. And after it happened, he was actually the person that went down and did like a first aid and tried to stop the bleeding and called 911 and was the one that got her to the hospital. And he still has the t-shirt that's soaked in her blood in like the back of his closet, which is a little creepy, but it smells like her, I guess. So he takes it out and smells it at times. And I mean, it's kind of creepy, and it definitely fits in the like dark obsession, which is the name of the series, but it was like sweet in a creepy way. And I don't know, I just thought I really liked him, and I thought he did a good job. Oh, and I was right. He was mean to her because he liked her, but not just because he had a crush on her. He liked her, and he asked her out on a date, and she laughed at him. And then he started lashing out in pain, and then his buddies like joined in. But I guess the buddy that was driving the truck was really the main proponent of targeting her. And So I don't know. I liked his character a lot, and I did kind of think it was, I don't know, she was so angry so quick, and it showed that she never really trusted him. So I don't know if I trust her being happy in this relationship, because she hasn't worked through some of those things. But I really liked him, and you could really see how much he wanted to make amends and how much he really hated parts of himself for hurting her so much. And he really was honestly, genuinely trying to apologize and make amends, because he really did like her. And there's times throughout the book where he mentions things about how she doesn't like this, or this is her favorite book, and she's just like, how do you know these things? And he's just like, I paid attention. And then of course her mind twists it to, he paid attention so he could know my weakness to like hurt me more, kind of a thing. So she definitely, and that's where, and I feel like that's kind of where I go towards, it's more than just the bullying, because he hadn't started bullying her yet when she laughed off him asking her for a date. And so she had those preconceived insecurities that tainted everything, that then led to the bullying. And not that she caused the bullying, but it's all a big mess. But for the bullying aspect, it didn't really bother me too much. And I really liked seeing that he really did care for her. He did try to reach out and apologize. In one of the emails, it mentions that her father wouldn't let him at all near her when he tried to visit her in the hospital to apologize, because she brings that up at some point, like, you never even tried to contact me. And then she reads in these emails that he had all these emails that went out into the ether, basically, and that her father wouldn't let him come and visit or give her the real email address or anything like that. So, but yeah, I think I'm gonna go with 4 stars, because I enjoyed it. I read it all in one night, so that to me is key enough that I enjoyed it, because I was going through it pretty quickly, which means, it was definitely very well written. Those couple little things, and not being able to really fully connect with how some of her snap judgments, and then let's be honest, outside of her insecurities and her snap judgments specifically about Tate, she was kind of judgy about a lot of people too. So I don't know, her character was just a little too prickly for me to really connect with. So yeah, 4 stars. But I was able to clear 4 prompts for this. This worked for Virgin Hero, plus size character, new adult, and sports, because he is a wrestler. So I have 4 prompts done. I haven't looked at my bingo board yet. I haven't gotten it in my little in my notebook or in my Instagram one. So we will see what I pick up next. It will depend on what I have. I'm kind of thinking of, I have a couple of paperbacks I want to pick up, but I don't know which ones. I have Whisper in the Wind and Don't Fall in Love by Jackie Lau, but I'm kind of feeling a change of pace from contemporary, so I might pick up Gaslight Hades by Grace Draven. And so I want to look at what my bingo board looks like and see what I can get the most coverage out of again. And I'm leaning towards picking up Gaslight Hades, but we will see what I end up picking up, because who knows? It'll be a long day at work, and then I need to figure out what to read. But I just wanted to update you while I was driving to work, which I am now here. So I will let you go, and I will see you all later when I have more to update on whatever I decide to pick up next. Hello. It has been a while since I've updated you. It is now Sunday. It is Sunday, and it is just after 7 o'clock. The live show to wrap up ended not too long ago, and I realized I have not updated you since Thursday. I was going to do updates this weekend, but then I got kind of busy doing stuff. Today I was super busy. I had to do a bunch of yard work, and Sundays are my chores days, so I did laundry and cleaned the kitchen and did dinners for the week, and just, I do all my stuff on Sundays. But, so we have 3 books to talk about before we wrap up the readathon. So, on Friday during the live sprint, I actually got off work early, so I was able to join the sprint. It was only like half an hour late, which was super good. And I picked up during the sprint Gaslight Hades by Draven. This is the first book in her Bone Keeper Chronicles. I think it's Chronicles. Bone Keeper something. And I love this. 4.5 stars. I mean, are we surprised? I love Draven. I adore Draven. She is one of my favorite fantasy authors. And this was just so interesting. I don't read steampunk too often. And it's been a while since I've read a steampunk. But this was just so intriguing because the hero, Nathaniel, he fell in love. He was the 3rd son, I think, of a marquess, and he fell in love with an inventor's daughter. And because he was the 3rd son, he ended up joining an airship. And in this world, there is magic and stuff. And some of the mages tried to bring, I don't know, like hellish creatures, but it's not hell. But they tried to open a portal to a different dimension. And then all of the queen's mages created a barrier. So there's constantly mages being sent to this barrier, and there's constantly different types of warships, either for healing or fighting, or they all have different designations, like normal navies and stuff. But they're all airships because this is steampunk and super fun. But he works on one of the ones that goes to attack the creatures that are trying to break through the wall. They're all ginormous. So when there's a rift in this wall, it's just like a ginormous tentacle that comes out and wraps around a whole airship, or one claw of a beast. So it's super crazy, ginormous monsters. It made me think a little bit of Attack on Titan, except instead of ginormous humans, they're ginormous monstrous creatures. But I really, really enjoyed this. So Nathaniel was on one of these ships, and during one of the battles, he falls off the ship and dies. Before this happens, before he leaves, I can't remember her name. He asks this girl that he is in love with, and they've been getting jiggy with it, so to speak. He asks her to marry her, and she rejects him. We come to find out later in the book it's because his mother, because before he goes on this, I guess his somebody's freaking out and honking their horn like crazy. But he is now the heir to the Marquestum. Ignore that. But he's now the heir. We'll just leave it at that. And his mother, because she's not a lady, and she does seem like she has a place in society, and because her father's man-made, and so she's not complete, she's referred to more as a blue stocking than a full out not available at all for anybody, because she still does have her mother is a lady. So I'm not 100% sure where her hierarchy is, but I'm just pulling it up because what is her name? Lenore. Lenore. But so she has been very sad, and she regrets saying no to him because, you know, he was her one true love, and he ended up dying right after she rejected him, and she never told him why, and she just feels horrible and sick over it. So the book starts. So there's the backstory. The book starts. She is burying her father. It has been, I think, 7 years. She is now spinster aged. It has been 7 years since Nathaniel has died, and her father has recently passed. So they are at her father's burial ceremony, and while they are there, a guardian shows up. What is a guardian? Well, the front cover is a guardian. And guardians there's, I think, 7 of them in the world. And they are people who had died, that there was a, like, mad scientist dude who found a special type of, I don't remember what it's called, but he's some sort of magic elixir kind of a thing. And he brought these guys back to life, and it seems like they can manipulate shadows. They have some sort of magic themselves. And one of them, I think his name was Gideon or Gordon or something like that, he rescues the other 7 and kills their creator. But they are tasked with protecting graveyards because there is a new mad scientist on the scene, and he is trying to recreate, and he likes to do horrible experiments. And so they are a part of what they call the resurrectionist. So there are groups and gangs of exhumists, I guess is what you would call them, because they like to show up after someone has been buried, steal the body for experimentation by this dude. And so the guardians help protect the different grave sites. And so this guardian, he goes by Colin. He is Nathaniel's soul, but when Nathaniel was found by the first mad scientist dude, his body was too badly beaten, but his soul was somehow transferred into the soul of this other dude, and his soul had, like, passed on. And, like, the bone keepers hear ghosts, they can talk to ghosts, and I love Grace Draven, but it was so different feeling from all of her other fantasies in a good way. I enjoyed it so much. It was super fun. But basically Lenore finds herself, like, drawn to him, and, like, she's scared, but she isn't, like, running away in fright like everybody else there. And she kind of starts up a friendship with him, and he knows who she is, and she asks him, like, do I know you? Because she feels that sense of knowing of him, but he doesn't look the same outside of him being a bone keeper. His, like, facial structure and what human aspects are still there aren't the same. But she feels like she knows him because of the little actions he does and the way that he speaks. And it was just so good. 4.5 stars. What happens is her father was greatly in debt, and she has always wanted to join the same airship that Nathaniel was on, because she has been good friends with the captain, who's a woman captain. And she was good friends with her father, and her father was an inventor that made all of these things that basically kept inventing things to make these different airships better and better in their fight at this, I think they call it, like, the hold or something like that. So it was just, because she has nowhere else to go, and there's only enough money left after the debtors come and take whatever is left over from her father's, there's just a small stipend of money left over to take care of her mother. So she has to find some form of employment because she's not married. And so it is their romance. And I'm going to give it I gave it 4.5 stars, but mostly because I did want a little bit more of the romantic element in here, because there was a lot of explaining of the world and what's going on, and there was a lot of scenes of them, like, of him looking out for her, but her not knowing he's there, which was super sweet. But I wanted more of them actually together. But I mean, it was super fun, and I am excited to read more in this series. There is a short story I saw, and that's a part of her like Christmas like short story anthology, which I've read the couple of the ones that are a part of Wraith Kings, so now I can read that one. And there is artwork for a second book, but I have no idea when it's supposed to be released. But I enjoyed this a lot. So this worked for my bingo board. Where's my list? For fantasy and second chance romance. And let me tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of second chance romance, except for this. Like, reincarnation, like this, I can handle because there was no big miscommunication, even though there kind of was in this one. But the second chance is because he died. And he is now alive again. So I read that Friday, finished that Friday. Amazing. Okay. And 2 more books to talk about. Then I picked up Do Not Fall in Love by Jackie Lau. This came out last year in 2021. I still had not read it. Jackie Lau, if you did not know, is one of my favorite contemporary authors. I love her indie published books. She is one of my comfort read authors, and I have been working through her backlist, but I have been going through it slowly because now that I've read this, and I recently read the latest release in Cider Bar Sisters, I only have her first couple. I like her first, I think the Chin family. I think that there's only 2 books. Maybe there's 3. And then I have an MM that was a newer release from her to read too. So it's like I'm saving them for when I need a Jackie Lau book that's not a reread, because I want to be caught up, but I don't want to not have something new from her. But side note, she announced in a newsletter last month, I think, that so we've got the follow-up book to this coming out in October, and then she has, on her indie side, she has plans for 2 new series, of which we might see the first book in both of those by the end of the year. But who knows? But I'm excited for whatever Jackie Lau has planned. I love her. But back to this book. 4.5 stars. I love this. So Ryan is an actor. And it's really funny because we start out with him. He has starred in a rom-com as the main lead, and he wakes up, and this starts with his abs going trending on Twitter from this rom-com, and it basically is not getting the best reviews. I mean, it's not horrible, but critics are being super critiquey with it. But fans are like, it's not that bad. It's okay. It's a generic rom-com. But he is nervous because as an Asian male lead, it doesn't happen very often that they get the male lead in a rom-com. And so he is very aware of the fact that he almost isn't allowed to fail, because this could be used as, even though it's not why it's flopping, some people could twist it to say it flopped because it was an Asian male and female lead kind of a thing. So, but it's more the script was the issue. But it's He lost his mom 4 months prior, and so he's struggling with that. He has some time before he films for a horror movie, so he's well known. And there's an ongoing joke in here because his name is Ryan, that Canada doesn't need another actor named Ryan. But he was such a sweetheart, and he was trying the best he could, and so he's dealing with grief over his mom and trying to keep his family together Oh, and I related to this so much. Of his mom was the one that kind of kept everybody talking and kept everybody, you know, getting together. And he's kind of having to step up in that place of like keep in contact with his dad and keep in contact with his sister and make sure, and like is trying to make sure everybody is getting together and hanging out together. And I was definitely the person that stepped up for in that role that my mom played. And so it was just so touching to read it. And I've mentioned this in other books I've read by Jackie Lau, but the way that she handles any type of diversity talk or mental or emotional, I don't know, like grief isn't an illness, but like any emotional turmoil, I guess, the way that she writes about it is just so realistic, and her characters just make choices that are real. They're not exaggerated. If they do make a silly decision, or if they do kind of get in a silly argument, it's very quickly like that the character who is kind of behind it is very quickly able to think about it emotionally, like not as emotionally, and just assess it, and not like if there is the miscommunication, so to speak, the way that she handles it is just so realistic, and just like not like they're gonna be unknowably angry for no reason and not even try to take the effort to solve whatever miscommunication happens, kind of a thing, which isn't in here. But that's why I love Jackie Lau. I just love the way that she writes about things, and this book was just really, really good. So that was Ryan. Lindsay is our heroine, and she co-owns a bakery with her best friend, and their specialty are like donuts. I mean, Jackie Lau is known for her foodie things and the amazing food. Most of her books are set in Toronto, and I mean, if you want to see amazing food in Toronto, follow her Instagram. All of the amazing things that she finds in Toronto, it just sounds so freaking good, and it is like such a fusion of foods up there. But anyway, so he ends up taking a spot in like Baker's Fail or something like that, and it's, I mean, like the people who don't know how to bake cooking competition, but it's for bakers, and there's like a donut round and a cupcake round and a cake round. And his mother loved the show. And so he finds this donut shop. He runs in. He actually knocks into Lindsay and knocks over her new matcha tiramisu donuts, which sounds amazing. But I love matcha. I love tiramisu too. But he kind of flirts with her. She doesn't recognize him at first. And there's even a fun thing where she's just like, where she talks about when she looks at her Twitter and stuff, she's just like, oh, there's some dude's abs. Okay. And then she like scrolls and looks at like realism cake, like cakes that like look like cabbage, but it's actually cake, kind of a thing. So I don't know, but it's just, so he ends up taking cooking or baking classes from her, and it's just super cute, and I love them together, and I just love the natural chemistry between them, and their like the teasing. And she definitely had, I guess, insecurities because he is a celebrity and he's not like A-list celebrity yet, but she knows he'll get there. And she is her mother is Asian and her dad is white, so she is mixed. But I don't know. And I loved the different aspects of, like, this felt more like the Asian friends I know, where they're not so strict in keeping their Asian culture in America. Not that that's a bad thing at all, but it's very much a melding of, for these guys specifically, Chinese and Canadian customs and mannerisms. And it reminded me of friends that I know, that I have here. And I love the blend of cultures, and It's set in Canada. I love them together. It was super cute. She's able to connect with him because she lost her father 7 years ago. So she's able to say things to him. And I ranted last week about a book that did not handle grief in a good way. And there is something that she tells him that it hit deep. And I know that Jackie Lau has lost her mom. So, let me see if I can find. But she says something to him that he references. And moments like this is when I'm like, this is why people annotate books. But I'm not a big annotator. I don't know. I can't bring myself to write in my books. I just can't. Okay, I'm going to pause and come back when I find this. Okay, so I found it. So there's a moment where he has a breakdown. They're making chocolate cupcakes, which is something that him and his mom tried to do and failed spectacularly at. And when they're done, Lindsay says the same thing as mom said, like they're the bestest ever chocolate cupcakes or something like that. And he breaks down crying, and just the way that she talks to him about it. First of all, she doesn't push him. She's like, if you want to say, I'm here to listen, but otherwise, like, I will just hug you and give you your space, whatever you need, which is perfect. I don't know, it's really important to me that when people write grief in, it's handled in the way that it should be. And then at one point she tells him that, you know, you'll never really get over it. It'll be something that's with you. And it's the little things sometimes that set you off even years later. But the thing that he keeps thinking to himself, time and time again, is just, she says, you'll probably never be the same, but that's okay. And it's 1,000% true when you lose someone as integral into your life as a parent, or even when I lost my paternal grandmother in high school and we were extremely close. So it's, I don't know, just the way that Jackie Lau writes is just so comforting to me, and that she's handled huge issues like this in some of her other books as well. But I feel like it's more here because it's traditionally published, so it's about 100 pages longer than her indie published stuff, so she can really dig into it. But I loved this book. There's also some talk about his sister was 5 months, either 4 or 5 months pregnant when their mother passed. So she is struggling, on top of also struggling with postpartum depression, and their father is distancing himself in the situation too. And everybody grieves differently, and there's also talk about how his dad is grieving and struggling and how everybody's doing it differently, but not once does anyone say that they're doing it wrong. The only thing that has said ever in that vein is Lindsay says you need to let it out at some point. You can't just stuff it all down. If you need to wait and let go later, that is fine, but you have to let it out. Otherwise, it will kill you from the inside. And it was just so well done. There's a lot of representation talk, especially with Ryan being an Asian man in Hollywood. And there's talk about, you know, people mistaking him for other Asian actors. And there's a lot of talk about what it is to be not only just an Asian in Canada, but an Asian in Hollywood and in film. And how and like finding one's identity. There's even talk about Lindsay's mother finding her identity when she was young, and how Lindsay perceived that differently, thinking that she was like, her mother was racist about herself, internalized racism. And so it's really well done. It is outside of the specific celebrity take on it. I have read a lot of these discussions before, because Jackie Lau touches on it in almost every single one of her books. And I think the way that she handles it is so well done. I love Jackie Lau, and I love seeing Asian representation. I feel like Asian representation kind of gets undershadowed at times, and it's important, I think, to lift all POCs. And as someone who lived in Asia and has Asian friends, I like to lift up Asian voices. But I love this. 4.5 stars. The only thing that I really was like, oh, is there is a very long monologue. His friend Mel is a stand-up comedian, and I'm guessing he's the person in the second book that's coming out in October. I have not looked at the blurb. I don't like to read the blurbs from Jackie Lau. But it's called Stand-Up Groomsman, so I'm guessing it's his book, and potentially with her roommate Vivian, because they got in an argument this book, but I don't know who he's going to be paired with, but I'm guessing he's the next book. But he has a very long monologue, because he's an actor, but he's also a stand-up comedian. But it wasn't very comedic to me, and it was more exponential, his type of Asian representation, as someone whose parents, who had the strict Asian parents, and then his parents were very, like, tried to be the opposite of the stereotypical Asian parents, not pushing them to be like a doctor or an engineer, or all those stereotypes. And while I feel like that representation is important, I felt like it was a little, like, it didn't fit the rest of this book, because it was all from this other guy's POV. And I feel like that would have been something, if the next book is his book, that would have been better in his book, and maybe just touched on, and not a 3-page monologue from this other guy's perspective. So that was the only thing where I was just like, okay, this seems a little more exponential and not a comedic show. And I would have, like, I didn't mind the parts where he was making fun of Ryan and, you know, having the best friend who's better looking and things like that. But I didn't need his backstory, because this book's not focusing on him. Even though that representation is good, because he's also bi. But I just felt like it just felt weird. Especially where it was placed. Because I was like, I'd rather just hear they went to the comedy show, and maybe hear the jokes that he cracked about Ryan, or a couple of the other jokes. And I wasn't expecting his monologue to be such a big part of the show, or such a big part of the book. Not that it was very much. And then the argument that he gets in with Vivian is kind of odd, but we'll see how that gets resolved. I'm guessing they're the next book, but anyway, I will stop rambling. This clip has already been super long, and we still have one more book after this. Oh my goodness. So, 4.5 stars. This worked for both foodie and celebrity, but I already had covered foodie, so this only applied to celebrity. It could also apply to rom-com, but I already had that covered as well. Alright, I'm going to take a drink, and then we will try to go through this last book. Okay, so the last book I picked up was a novella, and I originally had put it in my TBR as Touched to the Heart. It was a standalone novella that I found. But when I was getting it on my Kindle because I forgot to preload that one, silly me, I realized that it actually was republished, and now it's a prequel to a series. So it has now become A Captivating Touch, the 0.5 book in the Cavallo Brothers series. And this is written by Elsa Winckler. So this is set in South Africa, and she is a South African writer, and I guess she normally writes books from what I saw in Afrikaans, but she was also contracted by a small publisher to write some books in English. So this is one of the series that she wrote in English, which is super cool. I've never read a book set in South Africa, and I don't think I've read a South African writer before, so that's cool. So this is Dawn. I finished this book like 2 hours ago, and I already forgot the heroine's name. It is Dawn and... what is her name? Caitlin. Her name is Caitlin. But he is very into cycling, and he is doing some big cycling race, like bicycling, like think Lance Armstrong. And she is a physiotherapist. So when this big race is going on, she signs up to be one of the physiotherapists on site to help people with like cramps and any muscle issues. And he comes into the tent and he overhears her on the phone with her best friend complaining about, like, because her friend's just like, you're around all these hot cyclists. And she's like, I'm not attracted to cyclists. First of all, they shave all their legs. Second of all, their body types are like thin and wiry. And I don't like the way that they look. And with them constantly on the saddles, they probably have virility issues. And he overhears this. And it's a super kind of fun meet cute, because then he's like super grumpy. But he's not the typical, because he's not like doing this professionally. He just does this as for his workout and for fun with his three brothers. He's a little more built than the typical cyclist, and she is immediately attracted to him, and he is into her, but he's grumpy about what he heard. And his brothers come in, and he didn't want his brothers to know that he had a back spasm, and so he leaves early, and one of his brothers finagles her business card out of her, and she works in a small town where they have a house that they get away to, and the Cavallo brothers are hotel tycoons, so they are billionaires. And Dawn kind of runs it all. And his three brothers, when they graduated, went out to do their own things. But now they're all in the hotel business. And I liked his brothers. They were super fun. They always liked to rib each other. And then we had, Caitlin has two sisters and then her best friend. And so it's just their romance. Now, I'm going to give this 3 stars. Firstly, because it felt more insta-lust than insta-love. And I don't mind insta-love at times, especially when it feels like a fated mate, soulmate kind of situation. But that wasn't really mentioned or brought up. And I don't know. It just didn't quite hit right for me. It felt more insta-lust. And then they were suddenly like, I love you. I think I love you. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, do you really? Do you really? Then I didn't like Caitlin as much because she was very much having like whiplash, because they technically weren't even a thing, and they had gone out on a date, and he had a business emergency because kitchen staff were rioting because somebody spread false rumors that they were going to be selling or something crazy. And so he had to leave to deal with the rioting or the boycotting or whatever they were doing. And he's like, I'll call you. And when he has to fly to this different area because it's hotels in South Africa and the Seychelles Islands. And so when he arrived, someone was there to greet him who was like some beauty queen of Seychelles. And so she just said hi to him, kind of a thing. And of course, people take a picture because they're super rich and famous and they try to keep their private life private. So people try to get whatever dirt they can on him. And so then it makes the newspaper, which, okay, whatever. But then she freaks out because he said she was like, he said he was going to call, but no, what he said was he probably couldn't call right away because of what was happening. And then she thinks, oh, he's cheating on me or whatever. And then he says, I'm not a cheater. I don't cheat. And I don't like explaining myself. And you need to just trust in me. And she has trust issues because her father cheated on her mother. And there's even a joke made at the end of the book with her sisters where she was like, first we liked him, then we didn't like him. First we liked him, now we hate him. What is it now? And it's the same thing. He's at this site. They're filming an ad for their new hotel. And they're all taking a lunch break, so everybody's milling around, and one of the models comes up to talk to him, and somebody flashes a picture, and that's the thing they put on the news about the new hotel. So then she thinks, oh, he's hanging out with this, and I'm just like, oh my God, girl. You aren't even technically dating. There wasn't a discussion that you guys were exclusive, and there was never a discussion. All he said was he doesn't cheat. But if you're not exclusive, then is it cheating? I don't know. She was too back and forth. And then, maybe I'm just being a stickler and I'm just being picky because I wasn't 100% into it in the first place. But her two sisters are being set up with two of his brothers. And then her best friend is with the fourth brother. So I don't really like that in contemporaries. It doesn't bother me as much in historicals because that's different. And I know technically they're not blood related. They're all going to be related by marriage. But that's still kind of weird. And his mother was pushing this, and his mother kept inviting these dudes. And I'm like, first of all, one of them is a model, and one of the brothers used to be a photographer, and they both are actively are antagonizing each other. And the mother's a romance writer, and so she wants to pair them together. And it's just like they actively do not like each other and are saying horrible things about each other. Why are we trying to push these people together? They need to work it out on their own and not being forced to sit down to mutual family dinners. I didn't understand it. And it just felt weird to me that we were pushing 3 brothers and 3 sisters to couple up in a contemporary. But maybe it's a South African thing. I don't know. It was a little weird to me. It was a little weird. But it doesn't bother me in historicals. But here I was just like, this feels slightly icky to me. But maybe I'm just being picky. But I was definitely intrigued. One of the sisters I am interested to read, I think it's the first full-length book because she's an interior decorator and she'd be working with the architect brother to set up this new hotel that they're building. So that kind of a premise intrigued me because she keeps trying to do her job, but he's like so anal about what he wants as an architect that he just takes all of her ideas and doesn't let her see the blueprints, and he's taking point of it and he doesn't know why she was hired, kind of a thing. So I'm slightly intrigued to pick up that book, but I don't know. And it's supposed to be more full length, so maybe it'll be better, but I don't know. It's not at the top of my TBR. I will say that. But I didn't mind the writing style at all, so I definitely will look into maybe her other series if there are any others published in English. But so yeah, 3 stars. And that is where I decided to end. I was looking at picking up Lady Sophia's Lover by Lisa Kleypas because that would have covered my last 3 prompts: historical, workplace, and age gap. But I'm ending it here. So before we move on, Captivating Touch was able to cover Billionaire and Sports, but Sports was already covered, so I just used it for Billionaire. So here is my final bingo board. Like I mentioned, I didn't get 3 of the prompts, but my goal was to read 5 books, and I read 6, so I'm pretty happy with myself. It was a good start to August. No 5 stars, but I had a couple of 4.5 stars in books that I really, really enjoyed. So there's at least that. It wasn't a complete bust. But otherwise, that is all I have for you today. This vlog is probably super long, and I'm sorry about that, but I went in depth to a lot of these books, and I like talking about books, so I'm sorry this is long, but if you stuck through with me this entire time, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you participated in the readathon, let me know what team you were on, and if you had a favorite book that you read during the readathon. I'm definitely intrigued to see. And our team, Team Light, did win, so yay, go Team Light, and I'm excited for the next round of Romance Takeover readathon, whenever that will be. Jenn did mention the next one probably will just be a generic Romance Takeover and not Light versus Dark, but what other readathon Jenn does next, I'm here for it because I love doing readathons. But until then, I will see you all very, very soon.